Abdur kalana masa ubazin emakasama nimpaat. Begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. Anuki dakal paashak impaat. Wu kalawashak kawan dakoni. Anuki kasama nafa paat. Wu pa kawan kasama nafa me. Anuki wahu emapaat. Wu pa kawan wahu emani. Nukadur naju emakasama nafa paat. Awu khabub emashakas un. Nukadur kawun kalaw fafaf nukragub de kalpaat talama ragabni kawan liya bakay de kalpaat. Anuki abad binafasni. Pat kawan anuki. Pat kadur nukador. Pa amu nukamul. Hu. Pa nathor minu nitshayu kawun lalu bihu. That is in English. Begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. I am in the love of all, and all love is in me. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one as all, and all is one as me. I can succeed as a part of all, or fail as an individual person. I can be all that I wish in all, as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is, I am. All can, I can. All does, I do. And then I end with who, the guardian, who nothing would exist except by way of him. So now let us pick up where we left off. And I think we were on scroll 6, page 23, if I'm not mistaken. Or we might be on, did we cover that one already? And we're on scroll 7. All right, so we are going to start with scroll 7, page 27. All right, so I'll read the first 9 verses and then we will rotate. Scroll 7, page 27. Pleasure in the mind, 19 times 2 equals 38. Lo, I will speak to you on pleasures. 2. Know ye that in the holy tablets, chapter 10, tablet 12, verse 147, it states, the less pleasure you have, the less your burden of liberation will be. Let me stop right there for a minute. So first, let's look at the holy tablets, Mr. Abrar Samimi, and we will verify that's what it says. So if you would just open it up to chapter 10, and then
it says that the less pleasure you have, the less your burden of liberation will be.
Okay, there we go. So it agrees. Now, and then I'll cover the holy tablets later. All right. Oh, you can look through it, but go ahead. 3, worldly pleasures intensify the desire for greater enjoyment. 4, the mind can never be satisfied no matter how much of man's pleasures are fed. 5, emotions become dangerous when they become motion. 6, it is these emotions that make you fight, which lead to wars. 7, emotions that lead to greed cause you to overeat and leads to diseases. 8, or to eat yourself to obesity or death. 9, emotions lead to your need and what you want, and sex leads to lust and luster. All right, so the synopsis here is pleasure in the mind. The more pleasures you have, the harder it will be for your liberation. That liberation comes when you can control your pleasures and not give in to them. It's like if you are a person who loves food and having a table full of food and not eating it. Or if you're a person who loves alcohol, seeing a table full of alcohol and not being able to drink it. When you give into those pleasures, you are feeding the physical you. And when you're constantly feeding the physical you, whether it's through sex, through drugs, or alcohol, or dancing, or music, or whatever that pleasure is, as long as you're feeding that physical, then it's going to be harder for you to exercise the spiritual you. That is the meditation, the chants, and all the prayers, it's going to be harder for you to engage that because you're so tethered to the physical pleasure. Any questions so far?
What is liberation?
To set free. Mhm. To set free is what to liberate. Okay. All right, Dolly, if you would take 10 through 18.
Okay. 10. You are exceptionally apt to get AIDS or one of many other diseases today if you let your emotions be controlled by lust, or the luster of it makes you go out and buy a sexual instrument to give you pleasure. You desire to feel good, then you become a pleasure animal, a sex addict. 11. Then you will be an AIDS victim. 12. Because of the fact that you need stimulants to make you feel good, shows you have a lack of self-control. 13. And if the opportunity arises for you to have sex, you'll take chances. 14. Not caring what the consequences might be, even possible death. 15. When you're emotional and calm, you're okay. 16. I'm not saying don't have feelings. 17. Do not cry or let your anger get you into trouble because you can't control your mouth. 18. When you are over emotional, sexually out of control, you take chances you normally wouldn't and regret it once you have AIDS.
All right. So what is your synopsis of what you've just read?
When you give in to that temptation and you never just, I guess, ignore it, then you're setting yourself up to catch a disease, or and then you're regretting it once. You're regretting all those things you did once you get, caught up.
That is true. Any questions or comments on that?
Yeah, I think the emotional part is kind of gets me in trouble a lot. It's like saying like when you're emotional and calm, you're okay, but when you let your emotions like in anger get you to talk, then it's when you get in trouble.
Mhm.
That happens to me a lot.
What do you mean that happens to you a lot?
I feel like sometimes the emotions or anger, like they're just, and then I like say something that gets like my mouth gets me in trouble a lot. Basically.
So, and you feel that that is because of the emotions within you?
Yep.
Is it alcohol related, or is it even non-alcohol?
It's not alcohol related.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's just me just being too passionate, too emotional, too intense.
Okay. And okay, that's good. So what do you think is the cause of that anger that builds up, that feels like it must explode?
Well, I heard a couple of days ago this one comedian. He was like, "Life is kind of like a comedy thing. It's kind of like a joke. It's kind of like there's a setup and there's a punchline, and that's the mechanics of jokes. It's like there's a setup and there's a punchline. And when you're living life and you don't have the punchline, like you don't know your punchline, and you're in the setup stage.
Good morning.
And you're in this like setup stage and you're constantly in the setup stage, it's just an uncomfortable place to be in because you're constantly trying to set yourself up, but you don't know what for.
Right.
And that related, like I feel like I relate to that. And so when you ask this question, you're like, why is it? Where's the anger coming from? Where's that stuff coming from? I think it may be because so long in my life, like I didn't really have a punchline. I was just trying to get set up for so many things. It's just
You're just trying to get set up for so many
he actually
things.
even said it. He was like, oh, so when you're setting yourself up and you don't have a punchline, it's an uncomfortable place. You'll feel like, oh, maybe I need another degree, or maybe oh, I need to get another this or another that. And I was just like thinking in my head, I was like, yo, that is exactly what happened to me. I was like, trying to set myself up for so much different things.
Right.
It wasn't really like one setup that I had in mind.
Okay, I got
It
you.
wasn't one punchline that I had in
Right.
mind.
Right.
So it was like very uncomfortable.
Right.
That may be it.
Okay.
Very much.
All right. From what I'm hearing, let me get some water real quick. From what I'm hearing, and you're not alone in that sentiment, is a lack of purpose. When you don't have a definite purpose, you're like a ship at sea that's being tossed this way with the waves, being tossed that way with the waves, because you haven't really set your destination. But once you have a purpose and you set your destination, everything else seems to fall in line. And that's with the vast majority of youth, not only in America, but around the world. You see so many young people today committing suicide at age 15, 20. Life is just getting started, but they're checking out. And that's because of a lack of purpose. We have so much coming at us now through the internet that you are wondering, well, what else is there? You have the world available to you on the internet, and people feel like there's nothing else after that. And then you got the pressure of your parents saying, oh, you have to be this, or you have to do this. Do you have a job? You have your 401k, and they put it, are you going to get married? Are you going to give me grandkids? And they're putting all this pressure on you.
From the society too.
And then you got society that you have to behave within this, you have to conform to these lines. And so you don't really have, or you think you don't have the option to be who you are at all times. And that's the illusion, and that's the trap, because you can be exactly who you are at all times, but that takes courage, because then it's going to cause you to color outside these lines. It's going to cause you probably arguments with your parents because you want to chart your own course, but your parents want to chart your course only because they want to keep you safe and they want to keep you within the lines, because going outside the lines is the unknown. But if you stay within these lines, then I, as your parent, I pretty much know where you're going, and that's comfortable for me. But if you are your own person, your own soul, that's not what I want. I don't want the 9 to 5. I want to be able to do this. And then that makes parents uneasy because they don't know where is it going. But that takes courage from you when you know who you are and you know why you are. When you have a purpose, that's like the switch coming on. And once you know your purpose and start living your purpose, that's it. You're on your path. Nobody can tell you different. You know exactly where you're starting. You know exactly where you're going, and you'll start bringing in the people, the resources to get you there. But as long as that purpose is hidden from you, you'll be a ship at sea being tossed this way and being tossed that way and lost until you find your purpose. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Questions?
Your parents kind of hide your purpose.
Say again?
Your parents kind of hide your purpose sometimes, right?
But they want you to be comfortable, and being comfortable is the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Uncomfortable, bro.
Yeah. Growth begins at the end of your comfort zone. Yeah. But yeah, parents, it's not that they hide your purpose, because to say my parents hid my purpose means they knew your purpose and they kept it from you. That's not what they're doing. They're looking at society at large, and they're looking at you within the society and what's going to keep my child safe. That's what they're looking at, or what I think as a parent is going to keep my child safe. But that might not be your path. You have to be you. There's only one you. And so you have to be the best you that you can be. Questions? Okay, Mr. Ahmed, if you would take us through, what was that, 19 through 27?
When you're over
Emotional, you can get into a fight and have regrets. Or a person who is obese now has regrets that they're fat and say, I wish I could lose weight. Like getting fat was an awful beginning. This is your own trinity. Me, myself, and I. These emotions lead to other emotions like
Thanks a while. I never see. Might have some eat.
A person who is obese has all this fat around their heart, realizes with their added worry, aggravation, which increases the chances of dying. Say, I'm going to die. Emotions link into emotion. All the way.
Which one was that? What number?
27.
Yeah, stop there. All right. So what is your synopsis of what you just read, Mr. Ahmed?
Wait, what does Trinity mean?
3. You know how people say Father, Son, Holy Ghost, 3. Trinity is 3. Me, myself, and I. So tri is 3. Trinity is 3.
It's saying that when you get over emotional, you tend to do something that you regret later. Like they like put examples of like someone that gets AIDS. Like they didn't like they were over emotional and they got with this chick and then they got AIDS later and now they regret it because their emotions took over them. And like getting obese, like people that eat a lot of food, like they tend to later on be like, damn, like I messed up. I'm so fat now. So it's like he's trying to say like emotions can't take over someone's head if you don't control your emotions. Like
all the time.
yeah, all the time.
Don't act out of emotion.
Yeah, act out of emotions. Emotions link into motion. Yeah, whoa, I don't know what that means.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you, Ahmed. So emotions link into motion, and that's when they become dangerous. What is motion? It is to move, to act upon. So when you have emotions, that's okay. But then when you start to act upon those emotions, that's when your emotion, your energy becomes in motion. And that doesn't necessarily always get you into trouble if those energy motions cause you to do the right things. But most of the time, when people become emotional, it is on the negative side of the spectrum. It's usually because they'll say, you made me mad, or you made me do this. And right then, they give you the power over them. Why are you upset? Because you made me this way. Why are you happy? Because he or she makes me happy. You have to learn to have happiness or joy within yourself. When you can be happy in yourself, by yourself, then when you're around people, it'll spread. But if you're the type that is miserable when you're alone, I'm bored, then when you get around other people and then you're charged up, you just gave them the power over you. And this is how you got to tap into your emotions and be happy with who you are, even if it's just you, and get control of your energy. And then you control how you put your energy into motion to become that energy in motion or emotion. Does that make sense?
Being reactive versus proactive.
True. Yes. Most people's emotions are reactive. One.
Yes, sir. So like, don't react out of emotion. Like, I say if you're getting hurt or something, I guess it's all like in the mind, or like certain things like fear, or like it's just a mind. Just stay relaxed, breathe, and just stay in a relaxed state of mind. So like you won't be able to be manipulated or controlled over by other people's energy.
Okay. You mentioned a couple things. You said when you're being hurt, and then you said when you're being controlled by other people's energy. First, let me go back to the hurt. When you said like when you're being hurt, what do you mean by when you're being hurt?
Because out of emotion, like you can be hurt. Let's say you're in love with a girl and then she hurts you because you're always thinking about her. You know, you think about her happiness over your happiness, over your well-being. So you're being hurt.
Okay. Okay. So when your heart is opened to someone You in essence give up a part of your divinity to them. And now that person, that partner can, as people say, she knows how to press my buttons to make me upset. When you're emotional and calm, you're okay. No one can push those buttons. But then when you open your heart up to love him or her, you give them a part of yourself. You're trusting them with a part of yourself. And then when they get mad at you or they're upset about something, they know how to press your buttons. And it works both ways. You might be able to do the same thing to her. And then when this becomes detrimental, exactly, it's like a battle. You know how to press her buttons and she knows how to press your buttons, and it can become cyclical and toxic.
So those, I call that like the loop.
It is a loop.
You can get stuck in that loop.
Yes, you can.
Just go back and forth.
Yes.
Back and over. And if you don't catch it on to those bad habits.
Right.
It's like you're used to being hurt. And you kind of like it, but you don't know it. You're talking to yourself.
Some people get addicted to it. This can be this pain cycle can be a very dangerous loop. Some people enjoy it. And then when it's removed, they feel like something's wrong. And even if they break up with this partner, they'll go find someone and be in the exact same boat. This is what happens with abusive relationships. You'll be like, why is she with him? And then she'll finally get rid of him and get somebody else back in the same situation, just a different cast of characters, because they're addicted to that type of relationship. And so you got to be careful not to allow that to become your norm, no matter who you're dealing with. It can be even a friendship can be toxic, someone always putting you down. And then when you break up with that friend, you go to another friend who's always putting you down. It can become, you can subconsciously become accustomed to it. And then when you become accustomed to it, you subconsciously seek it out. Does that make sense? One more before you go there. Now, similarly, success is the same way. When you start doing things that manifest who you are, your purpose, and you start having small successes, it becomes addictive. And then you want to grow a bigger success. And then you want to grow even a bigger success. It's a two-way street. It's just society has put most people into conformity, and conformity will not get you success. It is the courage to break outside of those lines, color outside the box, that's going to bring you the courage to be who you are and to grow your successful empire. Does that make sense?
That's so sad because I feel like 99.9% of people I know are just like being told to conform.
That is true.
And everybody knows like that's not going to get you.
Yes, you're right. Everybody knows it, but it's safe to conform. Because when you're not within those lines, people can't predict your move. And that's dangerous for the people who like to be able to predict your move, whether it's your parents, whether it's your society, whether it's your teachers. They like to be able to predict those. But when you are coloring outside, I have no idea where you're going. You are charting your own course. And that is the key to your success.
About that, what would you say what kind of advice would you give to someone that's stuck in some kind of cyclical, toxic relationship like that with somebody?
Well, yeah, you can't just say break it. There has to be a methodology on, first they have to recognize it's cyclical. A lot of times you don't realize it is because you're so in it that sometimes you have to have somebody take you aside and say, look, you did this, you did this. It has to be explained to them that they're in a cyclical cycle. Now, how do you break that cycle? You have to totally leave the circle of that cycle. That might be getting away from that person or those people for a period of time to where this is no longer happening. It might be being silent, even if you have to say that you live together, and might be being silent, but you have to get away in some way, shape, and form, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. You have to separate yourself from that person or persons with whom this toxic cycle is happening. One.
I had a similar situation where like I pretty much gave myself that how much I love that person. It was so meaningful, like another half of me. It was just messing me up emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
It was just crazy because I noticed I wasn't the problem, but everybody looked at me as a problem. And because I feel like I had a bag on top of me. But like I noticed that the only way I had to fix this cycle of repetition, because I caught on to it, it was just like deja vu. It was like I had to get out of that circle to learn to love myself and appreciate myself and know who I am, because she's younger than me by like 2 years. So she's not at the level in the same time frame as I am. So I can't judge her because she's younger than me. So it's like me trying to argue with a little girl. I'm never gonna win. I had to put my part. I gotta love myself down the man.
Okay. All right. You said a couple of things again, Juan. All right. You said she's 2 years younger than you. Women mature faster than men. So even though she's 2 years younger than you, actually, men, if you're going to date a woman, the woman should be at least 4 years younger than you. Because a woman that's 4 years younger than you is mentally at your level. This is what we mean by women mature faster than men. Now, there are some women, older women, who date younger men. And it's very trying upon those women because, in essence, they're dating little boys. And they have to have patience to deal with boy games. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? All right. Any questions? Huh?
Like how like women kind of mature faster than men.
Yes.
Like in high school, like some of my girls I knew were like already kind of like, I mean, like they act the way they already act now. Like
right.
I was like more crazy, but now I'm like more mature. It's like I see it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They mature. They definitely mature faster. You say something? Okay. 29, Mr. Tito.
That means when you're upset by something, 30, you are no longer in the control of yourself, 31, and therefore you're under the rule of another. Remember, emotions, gluttony, one can eat themselves into sickness and even death. Anger, wars, taking things that is mine, and I want this, and I want that. Lust, pleasure, comfort, consciousness, desire. 32. You can say out of your mouth, I can control my life. 33. However, you can be under control and lose your own divinity. 34. And to surrender your divinity to another who is in authority. 35. The saying is believe in yourself. Then they say believe in God. 36. They told you who and what you are. Genesis chapter 1, verse 17.
All right, stop right there. So if someone would please Google Genesis chapter 1, verse 17, King James Version. And let me know whoever has it. Genesis chapter 1, verse 17, KJV. So anytime we have these references. We'll look them up on the fly.
For our own consciousness, right? Or for our own self. To actually do it, you know,
Exactly.
physical.
Right. That's why I do it. Yeah. And it's something that you'll remember. Yeah. All right. No, just go ahead. Genesis 1:17.
17, and God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. 18.
Oh no, just 1:17. And God set them in the firmament. Say again.
And God set them in the
Firmament
of heaven to give light upon the earth.
All right, we'll come to that. All right, keep going.
13, they told you who had what you are, Genesis chapter 117, in scriptures of our apostle St. John the Divine, for the tones Yachanan,
Yochanan,
and the rhythm Yahana. The 10th chapter, the 34th verse, where it states in John chapter 10:34, Jesus answered them, saying, "It is not written in your excuse me." Jesus answered them, saying, "It is not written in your law, I say you are gods." And again, the scripture which is received by the King David called the tones,
called in tones,
Dawid, and the rhythm Dawad,
and in rhythm Dawood.
The book of Psalms, the 82nd degree and 6th verse, where it states, Psalm 26 verse 6.
82:6.
8:2-6. I say you are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High. 37. For instance, when you are humble yourself to someone and you are surrendering your divinity to them, but can regain it back. 38. It's not like once you lose your divinity that you can regain it again. You lose it and of your free will, so you can earn it back when you will. Don't mix humbleness up with submission. They are not the same. No man no less than one who knows it full.
All right, so what is your synopsis?
Before, you give a part of yourself when you allow someone in your world, and that person, like you said, could push your buttons. They may do a certain thing, a certain action. By you giving your divinity back, is do not allow them to push your button. Control your emotion and control your actions.
Questions or any thoughts? All right, thank you, Tito. All right, so there was a certain part in there on page 31 in the bold. Jesus answered them saying, "Is it not written in your law, I said you are gods?" And then King Dawood or David said, "I said you are gods and all of you are children of the Most High." This is something that is overlooked in religions. The King David part is from the Psalms, and then the part of what Jesus said is from the Gospels. Both are saying that, is it not written in your law that I said you are gods? That is something that is not taught through religions because they don't know what it means. But you are, in fact, a God of the Most High. Now, what does it mean that I or you are a God? You might be saying in your mind, I'm not a God. But it's like your mother and your father, and then there's you. You are your mother and you are your father. Their DNA is in you. The mother's DNA is in you. Your father's DNA is in you. Now, when you come to the nefsi or the nefesh in Hebrew, meaning spirit. Spirit is what gives you life and awareness. that even plants have life, and that life comes from the source of life. So that source of life is also in you, but then there's something even deeper. Hebrew, or the Ruach Qudus, then in there's the Ruh or the Ruach in Hebrew, or the Ba in ancient Egyptian. In ancient Egyptian, there's dual. There's the Nefs and the Ka, and then there's the Ruach and the Ba, the soul. The soul is the emotional you, that which gives you your energy to be put into motion, not your head. One.
So the spirit is what makes everything like the, and I think Japanese is like chi, right?
Okay.
It's everything. So the spirit is what God gave us so we can be breathing and alive. But like the soul is like what makes us different, and that's what makes us our own individual God, because every one of us in here is a God of their own craft. Their soul is what makes them individual and makes them uniquely them, like you know.
That is very true. I'm going to go back and correct something. You said that God gave us.
Because I could look at ancient Egyptian, like last night I was trying to study and some stuff. Wait, I come here.
Right. That's because it's your time. We were talking earlier about we're talking about somebody that's not here, and I was saying that he's not here because it's not his time. When it's your time, you'll show up here. And now, before I go back to this, what do I mean by when it's your time? When as Panabab Yanun told me, and I'm telling you, that you don't come to this knowledge, Nuwapu or Sabean, what we're teaching here, it comes to you when you're ready to hear it. Now, that's important because when it comes to you, it's coming from Pa Nataru, those deities of ancient Egypt, who are reaching out to each one of you for whatever reason. I don't know the reason. This outformation is coming from out there to become information once it gets into you. And this information is going to help you at some point in your life. I don't know when, I don't know what the situation will be, but as you go along in your path, what you're hearing here is going to help you out. All right. Now let me go back to what you were saying about God. You had mentioned that God gave us the chi in the Far East, it's called chi, and in India, it's called prana, and in ancient Egypt, it's called sekhem. This is the primordial energy that was used to create everything. There is nothing in creation that doesn't have it. It pervades all universes, this universe, dualverse, triverses, multiverses, and the omniverse. It is used to make absolutely everything. And the important thing is it's at your disposal. You can consciously manipulate this chi, prana, sekhem to create your creation. The reason why most people don't do this is because we've not been taught. We've been taught, again, to stay within certain parameters and to think within this box. Now, what Juan said was God gave us this chi, but remember, you are this God, whether it's the capital G, capital O, capital D, capital G, small o, small d, small g, small o, small d. In the Torah, you come across, put it here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And so anybody goes to church, they talk to you about God. And that word is actually Elohim. Wherever you see in the Bible, you open up and you see God did this, God did that, that word is Elohim. Now, is God singular or plural? Singular. All right. Singular, and then some says plural. Now, Elohim, is it singular or plural? Or you don't know? It's a Hebrew word. It is plural. Do you know what makes it plural? Yeah, right. Okay. So here you have Elo and Im. When you see this Yad and this Meme, that makes it plural. Elo is the same as Allah. You remember as the story goes, Abraham had Isaac or Isaac, who is credited with speaking the Hebrew, Elo, and then Abraham and Hajar or Hagar, the son of Imhotep in Russia, who speak in Arabic, that became this Elo becomes Allah. And then whereas you have Elohim, you also have Allahum. Now, when you add this yod in this meme, it makes this plural. So it's not in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. It's in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth. Now, these gods, according to the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible, are called the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki are responsible for the creation of beings 6,000 years ago, and that is the Kakasu, or the Caucasians. But there were people here prior to 6,000 years ago. And those people are under not all, but the Natharu. What we have been taught is that there's this God or Elo or Allah that's up there looking down upon us. And then we have these books for the Torah or the Bible or the Quran for our guidance. That is not quite true. Those were books that were guidance for a certain people in a certain time. The Torah was for the Hyksos and the Europeans. The Quran was for the Arabs. The Injil was also for the Europeans. Why? Because before that time, before this information was sent to them, they were in a barbaric state. Yeah, it was in a barbaric state. And then when Muhammad stepped on the scene with the Quran, he started cleaning all of that up. It was meant to take them from a barbaric level to a more civilized level. However, no character in the Torah, the Bible, or the Quran can be proven to have existed with the exception of Muhammad. But even in the stories of the Quran where it talks about Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, it talks about Musa or Moses, or it talks about Nuh or Noah, none of them have been proven to have existed. There is proof that these stories come from an even older story. And I'm gonna get back to the chi part. What's mind twisting? Yeah, yeah.
The exception of Muhammad actually exists.
Yes.
Every Quran talks about more than all of them.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's only proof or let me back up. There's evidence to support the existence of Muhammad because he's most recent. Whereas when you go even farther back to Jesus, that's 2,000 years. And then Moses, you add another 2,000 years on top of that. But Muhammad is more recent, so they can verify his existence not only through archaeology and through the stories that are written, but then they have what they call his whiskers or his mustache. They have stuff from him. So they can prove that Muhammad existed, but not any of those other prophets. Now, the stories that you get in the Torah, in the Bible, in the Quran,